That's a little much.
Dude, you should totally eat your hamburger on the podcast. Say, I'm pregnant, back off.
Right. All I can say is, wow, you are in for a treat. Construction DorkCast number 20, the Dork-ettes Part Deux, did not disappoint. Jisell Howe, Kalyn Lengieza, Andrea Breen, and Pfleger, and Lil, yes, she insists we just call her Lil, join us in a spirited celebration of Women in Construction Week where we talk diversity, allyship, mentoring, and how to get people of all backgrounds more interested in construction. Just sit back and enjoy. Here we go. Hold on to your butts.
And we are live. That's right. We are live for episode 20. That's right. We made it to the big 2-0. I am real proud that the Dorks got this far along. Thanks to COVID for kicking, I guess. It keeps us moving. But we're going to go back to one of our favorite things. So this is the Dork-ettes Part Deux. That's right. Part Deux. This is going to be a whole lot of fun because, as you know, we are extraordinarily proud of the opportunity that we have to be here as a group, but we are also proud to bring in our favorite Dork-ettes to come along with us. I think Travis said it best. These are our favorite women in construction that are doing a great thing, but they are also here because, well, they're just dorks like us. So in some respects, it's a little bit of both. And in honor of WIC Week, we are happy to turn this over. So I'm going to say goodbye because I got to go on this episode. Sometimes you got to go. And what a better group to leave it in. I'm drinking a Zip Fizz because I've got a kid event I've got to go to. That's all I've got. Trent, why don't you introduce what you're up to and take it away?
Absolutely, Jeff. So, I've got one of my normals from the little strip mall brewery down the street that I love so much called Deviant. It's called Hop Supremacy.
Nice.
I love them because they have the exact same can and they differentiate their beer by a label, which reminds me of being a mechanical contractor. So their beer is phenomenal though. So they're pretty much a go-to of mine over and over. So that's what I'm drinking.
Awesome. What about you, Jonathan? What you got?
I've had a long week. And so I got single malt scotch. I got Talisker, which is like an Isla. So it's like a super smoky scotch, not like really nasty. Like, what was it? My wife said mermaid's bathwater. She said somebody described it as like mermaids. And I said, there's nothing appealing about that. And she goes, I know. It doesn't sound appealing, but it's awesome. And you get slowly addicted to the Isla scotches. So that's my drink tonight.
All right. Well,
what about you, Travis?
I am bringing back one of my favorites too here, if I can get it back in my camera. Jameson Black Barrel. Just really kind of loving on a nice Irish whiskey finished in bourbon style. So it seems to be working pretty well for me. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it on over to you. What you got going on?
Well, hello, I'm Ann Pfleger. It's great to join you guys. I actually have my I'll see if I can get it in there. Iced coffee. It's half decaf though, because I do have to eventually go to sleep tonight. So, but this helps to get me through. I've got, after this one, I've got 2 more meetings after this tonight. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, we are too. And thanks for, you were pretty pivotal in bringing this together. So thank you very much. Kalyn, I'm going to go ahead and kick it to you because you're next in my little boxes.
Next in the boxes. Well, I am Kalyn Lengieza. I am currently drinking water because I'm boring, but I have a good snack. I have some Parmesan crisps as my snack, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Awesome, yeah,
right on.
That's great. Jisell, what you got going on?
Hello. So I have what appears to be a glass of wine, and to be honest, I don't really pay attention to the bottles. It was like $11 at the store, so when everyone's describing what they have, I'm kind of like panicking because I don't know what I bought, but it's really good, and that's about what it is.
Was it out of a
Very
box?
jealous of that.
It is a bottle. I believe it's one of those
All right.
wines.
Well, then it's fancy. Yeah.
Sure. I've got fancy glasses here. We only have the best here, so special occasion.
Great. Sasha, you're up next.
Okay, so I'm double fisting. Not really, but.
Oh,
All right,
come
no,
on,
so-
please.
I'd be super proud.
That would be awesome.
Actually,
That would
with
be
water.
awesome.
because I didn't want people to think I was having a White Claw and my beverage of choice. So this is water, and it happens to be in my favorite glass that I normally have beer in.
Oh, that is awesome.
See?
Oh, nice.
I like that.
Yes, whenever this glass is found empty, it should be returned full. But I'm a whiskey girl, so
Right
a single malt. So I'm a fan of Glenmorangie Signet, which is one of my
That's
absolute.
beautiful. Actually.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful bottle.
It's a gorgeous bottle. Yeah.
Oh,
It
it's
is.
tasty too.
Very tasty. It goes down way too easy, but I thought it was appropriate for the show today. So
Right on.
Yeah. Nice. Great. Thank you. Andrea, you're next.
Yeah, so I have a Woodford Reserve Kentucky
Oh,
bourbon.
can't
It's
beat that.
been a heck of a long week, and normally I would be settled down with a nice Cabernet, but I still have one more day to go, and I had 8.5 meetings today so far. So we went
8.5.
right to Woodford Reserve.
I have to understand that half a meeting. That sounds like a good trip.
I cut out of one meeting to go join another. It was that kind of day.
I like that. To classify it as half a meeting, I like that. Let's try that.
Lillian, we got our Dork of the Year back again. She was on a demand guest by this panel here.
Hi, hello everyone. So happy to be here. Drink of choice. Well, I know Kalyn, mentioned we're coming strong, but I'm going to go ahead and downgrade us. I'm actually sipping my lemonade from In-N-Out, a good Southern California favorite over here. Had an In-N-Out burger for lunch today. It's delicious. So
Delicious.
still sipping on that lemonade.
Right on.
Well, great. Well, thank you all in, as Jeff kicked off this, talking about, we're really trying to promote and celebrate women in construction, but we're also, as the Dorks, we just try to call out the people that we feel are doing incredible things in construction and technology. And then around Women in Construction Week, we wanted to go ahead and redo our Dork-ettes episode. And we were joking about this before we came live, in traditional fashion, the construction dorks, the four of us, plan nothing. But when we invite in women, they planned everything. Like we had multiple emails back and forth during the week. So, and I'm going to go ahead and kick it off back over to you, because you guys, you really kind of had a really good bullet point worth of discussion. And I was hoping to also with your background and what you're doing with the association there, you could get into that a little bit more and kind of just kick the conversation off.
Great. Thanks, Travis. Well, I'm Ann Pfleger. I'm the current national president for the National Association of Women in Construction. And we are celebrating, as Travis mentioned, Women in Construction Week. NAWIC actually started this back in 1998. Back in September, that was our founding month. But a couple years later, we decided, March is Women in History Month. So let's move it to March. So it's always the first full week in March. And I have to tell you, this year has been gangbuster. We are seeing everywhere, all platforms, all social media, talking about women in construction. We have had more than ever associations and people like you reaching out, wanting to promote women in construction. So all of our hard work, ladies, is paying off, because when they start coming to you, asking you how we can promote women in construction, you're doing a great job. So I want to have Sasha say just a little bit about her journey.
Well, thank you, Ann. It's a pleasure to be here. Especially during Women in Construction Week. So thank you, Travis, Jonathan, Trent, Jeff, who has signed off. Thank you for having us. My name is Sasha Reed. I am the Director of Industry Advancement over at Procore. I've been in the industry now for almost 20 years. I don't know how that happens, but started out as a specialty contractor, and really just saw how in this industry, the stuff kind of rolls downhill. So the further down the food chain you are, the more slack you have to pick up, and the more you just have to make things work without being able to point fingers. And it was kind of seeing how technology was enabling the firm to really compete with some of the bigger guys that maybe think about technology. And I worked there for about 5 years. and was a project manager, and then made the jump to the dark side and jumped into tech. So from one industry that's male dominated to another, but it changed my life. And so I've spent the last 13 years of my career really focused on the intersection or the Venn diagram: people, process, and technology. How do you line those three things? First, you focus on people. Who are the people doing the work? What are the processes that they need to put in place? And then you apply the technology. And Lillian and I actually worked together for almost 7 years, I think. So I've had the pleasure of meeting so many amazing women in industry, and I'm super, super excited to be here today. I'll kick it off. I can kick it off if you want, and to kind of go around round robin.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great.
Jisell, I definitely want you to go next.
You want me? Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Jisell Howe, and I am currently the Senior BPM Platform Integration Manager at ENG Works Global. And yes, I do have to put that on 2 business cards because it doesn't fit on one. Just kidding. But anyway, I have worked there for about 5 months. And prior to that, I actually worked for a manufacturer, Uponor North America, for about 9 years or so. And so my journey, the majority of it has actually been spent at the intersections of construction and manufacturing. I work with a lot of BIM and CAD content, managing projects, getting new product development projects from the manufacturer to reflect in content. And it's been an exciting ride along the way, really. So what I really enjoy about the whole thing is that I'm at the intersection of so many different disciplines, and they all need to communicate to get accomplish a goal. And so when a manufacturer is launching new products, I'm also running alongside trying to make sure that BIM and CAD content is also managed and launched as well. And I treat it kind of like rocket ships, like we're launching to the moon, you know? So I enjoy that a lot. That's basically the majority of my career. It didn't always start that way. I used to be a designer for radiant heated flooring and hydronic systems. And also I worked for a specialty contractor for insulation and lagging for industrial systems very briefly. And I got into the whole thing because I was following my dad in his footsteps. I just really wanted to follow my dad, and I absolutely loved it, really. I went to the same school as my dad, and I used to go on company tours at my dad's workplace. He worked for a steel fabrication company, and he taught me so many things along the way. I really give all of this to my dad. He inspired me to join the whole thing, and he taught me how to do lettering and everything. And I had to relearn how to write in school because my dad taught me how to do lettering, and they're like, why is she writing capital letters all the time? So yeah, that's a thing. I sense I'm rambling at this point, but that's basically what it is. I love what I'm doing, and I've been at it for like 10 plus years now. So that's kind of what I got. So I guess I could pass this on here to hear from Kalyn yet, right?
Thank you, Jisell, very much. So, hello, all of you in TV land. I am Kalyn Lengieza, and I'm currently the Director of Marketing at Iris, a technology company focusing on field productivity and workforce. So I've been in the construction tech industry now for about 5 years, mostly helping the dog bark and the smaller construction tech startups get their marketing off the ground. And I joined the industry actually through my husband. My husband has been in construction for the past, his entire career, so 18 plus years. And he followed me into tech. Don't let him tell you otherwise. And but it's been a really amazing transition for me in my life because I've seen so much impact on what has happened just in the past 5 years of what both the advancements in construction, but the advancements of technology for construction. And then also just in adding to that, the advancements of workforce capabilities for women and, the like within the industry. So I'm very excited to see where this goes and continues to grow. Yeah, I love hanging out in Florida. That's basically what I do. So I am going to pass it off to Andrea.
So I'm Andrea Breen. I'm a quality control manager for Zignego Ready Mix in the Wisconsin area. I've been in the industry for probably 25 plus years. Much like Jisell, I followed my dad. I wanted to be an engineer just like him. And that was what kicked off my entree into construction. I love trying to marry the things that we do in the field with the tech that can make us be better. When you look specifically at the concrete space, there is such a breadth and depth of technology that is at various stages of adoption based on where you are regionally and where you are as company size. And it's really been a great journey to be able to see how that technology can make things go so much better in a project. And again, very excited to be here with this group of ladies. I am a director for the NAWIC Milwaukee chapter, so we're a local chapter of the national affiliate. And as the chairperson for this year's WIC Week, I have had so many opportunities to start discussions as a result of, hey, can I talk to you about NAWIC? Can I talk to you about women in construction? And it's been an excellent opportunity to have those conversation starters, to meet different kinds of people, to get onto different committees. And it's really been going quite well. I'm going to kick it to Lillian.
Thank you, Andrea. Feel free to call me Lil, but I'm currently a construction technology project manager for DPR Construction. Before that, I worked for a software company as a consultant. Loved it. Had a chance to work with a lot of customers who were looking to implementing, Breathing Review into the company. Had a chance to really continue to learn a lot about the industry. But I did come from a mid-sized CM company called Cordova Corp, and we were contracted under URS at the time when URS existed. Now they're part of the AECOM family. And I was a BIM coordinator, and I also did project management for resource recovery. And while I was still going to college, I worked in facilities for a coffee company and a waste company. So it felt like my worlds collided with, just all the equipment that I was familiar with, walking the facilities yard and then coming into working for a bond project and helping directors from all 9 campuses, have the proper equipment to build a good recycling farm for each campus. But I also have a chance to sit on the board for the NAWIC LA chapter as well, and have also worked with the Construction Progress Coalition group and really continuing to, preach standards. Although standards is something we, all get tired of hearing, but something I, pretty near and dear to me, all thanks to Sasha. But what I love about this industry, and especially, this week especially, we get to celebrate each other, highlighting and empowering other women. This is, I feel so honored to be in this virtual room with all of you guys here.
Thanks, Lillian. Well, actually, there was a method to my madness here. I was waiting to hear you all introduce yourselves and tell about how long you've been in the industry. So that way, when I said how long I was going to be in the industry, people wouldn't be like, oh. So I've actually been in the industry, transportation and construction, for over 25 years. And like everybody else, I very much, from my father, I worked with him outside. And I think that has given me a great perspective, because up until being a member of NAWIC, I had more guy friends my whole life than I did girlfriends, because I actually related better to the guys than I did the girls. So I think that that kind of helps me in my role now as national president to be able to understand both sides of the coin, which I think that's really what we want to talk about. And that's why we invited the guys to stay here with us. We wanted to have some real conversations surrounding, construction and technology, as we've, both industries, not attracting enough women, and what we can do to change that. Now, from NAWIC's perspective, we recently evaluated our strategic plan, and we actually have something in there to kind of help with that. We have many goals, but one of them, of course, is women in construction. And we want to make sure that women are recognized as essential to the viability of the construction industry. providing leadership, technical expertise, while championing inclusivity and ushering collaboration forward to expand the industry. So that's kind of a big ask, but that's kind of why strategic plans are 3 to 5 years out. It doesn't happen all at once. And before I open it up for the next question, I just want to let you know what our vision future actually will be too. We came up with that. Women's contributions to the construction industry are recognized and sought after. Women's leadership results in industry growth and success. Women receive compensation equal to all within the industry. NAWIC is identified as the resource for female leadership, with members recognized for their expertise and commitment. So after hearing that, I actually have a question for the guys. Have you ever been had a woman mentor?
Well, John's shaking his head.
Start.
Oh yeah, no.
Yes.
Wendy Meeker. So Wendy Meeker, who's currently working for Anvil. Okay. She came in, and I was an ex-engineer, and I didn't understand project management. And because I was a nerd and somewhat of an introvert, I really didn't understand managing people. Wendy was probably the best person at managing foremen that I've ever met. And I was actually I was sad to see her go back into sales, because she would come in every morning. She'd call up her foreman, boom, what are your problems? And she was a great example of a facilitator. And there's a lot, there's a lot of bravado. And I would say, I was in a firm that there was a lot of bravado. And she was kicking butt and taking names by being clear, by taking it seriously, by forming relationships with her foreman. Her foreman absolutely were for her. They weren't for the company so much as they were for Wendy. And even to this day, I still talk to Wendy all the time, but she taught me a huge amount about project management, because they pushed me off the deep end. And she was one of the few people that would be like, no, come here. You didn't talk to your foreman in 3 days. He's probably doing something else now. So she was really good at that. And I loved working with her. I also, when I was at the engineering firm, honestly, I had a mentor that was female also. That was about the same thing, where she was really helping me with relational understanding, more than tech. Not that she wasn't awesome at tech. She was awesome at tech, but she was really helping. I was at HF Lens, and she was heading up all of the admin tech. And I didn't understand the admin side. I understood the BIM side. Okay. And she had me up sitting beside her all the time going, do you understand how I'm doing this? Would you like to get your certification in Windows NT? I'm that old. And it was really good. I've enjoyed the female mentors I've had. I have to say though, it's easier for me to think of male mentors than female. There's been fewer and far further between, for sure.
Jonathan, I think the key that you said in that was the relationships, and women, we excel in relationships. And if you think about in the construction industry, how many relationships you need to have in order to pull off any kind of project. So that is really a key. I'm so glad that you said that. Trent, what about you? Have you had a woman mentor, or maybe have you mentored a female?
I'm sure the answer is both. But I'm going to give you an example of females that have mentored me, because I think they've probably done more for me than I've done for any of them. But, you obviously start with how could you not mention your mother? Everything I've ever done has been a replication of what she's taught me or trained me to do. And that molded me professionally. I think anything I've succeeded in to this day has a lot to do with her. And while I don't have a lot of concrete examples with that, I will go back to my younger days in the Army. There was a female colonel, actually, that we reported to overseas for some operations. And I'll just never forget. And she was, how do you say, fair but very stern? Professional, the boss, in charge of what was going on. And I'll never forget when we were presenting to her some information on what we had gathered. And I'll just never forget her looking at me and, like, Sergeant Linebuck, tell me what you know, and don't forget, you can't say what you don't know. It's kind of like, and it teaches you, like, yeah, I guess I need to know this before I can tell somebody this. And that phrase has stuck with me to this day. You can't say what you don't know. Like, I use it all the time, because I think a lot of people in this world will try to say something, and I use it now. I'm like, hey, do you know what you're saying? I mean, so figure it out. So it's a good example, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. Travis, what about you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I have mine's before construction, probably, 15 years ago, when I was more on the tech side. I was working for doing programming for an agriculture company, so still pretty male dominated there. And Jenny Carset, she was our, I don't know, if you have, in your companies right now, you have, especially in the construction side, you have that one IT person that will drive across the country to give you an iPhone or whatever you need to do to get your work done. That was Jeannie. And the thing that I learned from her was she's dealing with these crotchety old farmers, right? It's liking them exactly to the foreman that we talk about these days. And she basically taught me, get the job done, but don't take any of their shit. They're going to tell you all these things that are wrong. They're going to try to throw their laptop away. Don't take any of their shit. Get the job done, listen to their needs, but don't back down. Don't be afraid to stand up and tell them that this is the way it is now. Get off your damn pencil and paper.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you. Well, I want to open it up to the women. Kalyn, have you, I'll reverse the question. Have you had, other than your father, a male mentor that maybe has helped you grow in your career?
Oh, wow. So yeah, no, my father, of course. I I named my consultancy business after something he would say to me from the moment I was old enough to understand how hard he was pushing me to succeed in life and to do well in school and to, check the boxes. He would always say to me, keep your nose to the grindstone. And when I started consulting in the industry, my company was called Grindstone Consultants, because that was just kind of ingrained in me forever. But, when I got past university and into the working world, my very first job, I worked for a luxury retail company, and I was in the back office doing marketing, but also doing operations. And it was my operations manager. And he had a way of just being, stern, making sure we were getting our jobs done, but did it in a way that kept everybody included and kept everybody inclusive, and didn't made sure everybody was part of a conversation. If one person did something wrong, he tried to bring it up to the entire team so we could all learn from it, not to call that person out. But it's hey, here's an example of something we missed as a team. Let's make sure we don't do it again. So that was one of the first experiences that I've had with that. And then since then, I was lucky enough to work for a CEO at my previous job that, we got along great and had a great rapport and had a great conversations and great working relationship. And, so there was a lot I learned and a lot I challenged on, but we worked well together. So for me, that was, those are the people that kind of the ones that would always either challenge me or bring me to the occasion, or also listen to me and listen to where I had issues. Because in others' jobs, I didn't have that at all. It was either a shutdown mode completely, or I would have to speak to another male coworker to get the point across to the male advisor or male manager or CEO or whatever it was. So that situation always breeds even worse environment and worse working relationship if you're not an open candidate to want to talk to any of your employees or anything like that.
That's a great example. I'll do one more before I move on to the next one. Andrea, what about you?
I think I've been very fortunate to have a series of mentors. If I look back at, let's say, my 5 jobs that I've had since college. I have definitely had strong mentorship. I've had bosses who have taken a chance on me and said, this is the right person for the job. Some of them even, were going against what the popular notion would be. Like, do you really want to have a female in that role? And yes, I do. She's the right person for the job. I chose her. She knows the subject matter, and this is what it should be. So I can really say throughout the arc of my career that I have had multiple men who have stood up and done the things that they need to do, guided me, allow me to make some mistakes and show me how to come back from that. So I think I don't know what to call that. I don't know if that's lucky. I don't know if that's by design. I don't know how I manage that, but it really has made all the difference. And that's why I'm hoping to do that for people and be that mentor for other people coming into the industry. And that's men and women, right? Like, there are young people that need to enter into the construction industry, and I'm going to mentor both men and women to make those choices and grow the way they need to.
Yeah. I know we've wanted to be a little bold here with this podcast. So I actually heard something. I was on an earlier panel discussion, and I was kind of shocked by this, that 60% of men are uncomfortable with mentoring women. And I think that for me, I haven't seen that, but I can understand where it can come into play. People said a lot of it came around when the Me Too movement came out and things of that sort, but I don't think people are getting the real reason behind all of that, like Me Too and equal pay. And so I think that people are not, and I don't want to just say just men, but aren't understanding it. Sasha, what do you think about, the efforts that we've been making? How can we encourage people to have that understanding? What can we do? That we just want to have equality in what we do in any industry.
Can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
Seriously. No, it's a good question. And something that comes to mind as you ask the question, I think it's important to make a distinction between two things. There's a mentor and there's an ally. And a mentor is typically somebody who's on a similar career trajectory as you, but they're further along in their career. So they're seeing around the bend a little bit better. So they can give you insight, they can offer guidance, they can calm you down when you're freaking out because you're not getting promoted fast enough. So I think the mentorship piece of it is really important, because that allows more of a journey that you're walking together. Whereas an ally is somebody, male or female, who is sitting in a position of authority, who can give you access and authority that you don't currently have. And so that's a very interesting stat, hearing that. But I would encourage men to take a look at, what level of authority do I have? Who, when I look around the room when we're making decisions, is missing? If you're not comfortable with the idea of mentoring a female, fine, no problem. Look at the seat you're sitting in and the decisions that are being made. And if you don't see a woman of color, if you don't see a woman, look around that table and know that's your work. That's the work that you can do. You can use your position of authority to open the door. And people, it is not about 6 seats at the table, and it's not about the boardroom, just the boardroom. It's what table of influence do you have? Bring your chair. Come on in and bring your chair, and we'll make room for you. This is. I was in a conversation earlier today with Maria Guy, who is a consultant with Giant. She does leadership consultant for construction, and she was saying this is not a scarcity mindset. There is but abundance of room for differing opinions, different views. The problems we're solving in construction these days are not simple. They're pretty complex, and the complexity is not going away the more technology we add, by the way. So it means we really need cognitive diversity, more people sitting at that table to be able to think through the problems we're trying to solve. So I really think for men specifically, if you're feeling uncomfortable with that, that's fine. There are other things you can do. You can still show up. So that idea of being an ally for somebody, look at the faces around you when those decisions are being made, and make space for who is missing.
That's great, Sasha. That's a great point. I think another thing that helps is that, with seeing more women at the forefront in the technology and the construction industries, the younger generation coming up, since they are seeing women in those spots, are now like, yes, I can do that. I can do whatever I want to do. I think that is the encouraging piece, that we need to be, showing the younger generation, both, men and women, that you can do and be whatever you want to do. Jisell, I know that you had mentioned about, your father was a great inspiration to you. How would you present your career to maybe the younger generation, to encourage them to step in, do what they want to do?
Well, it's actually a great point there. And so I always kind of felt like I just wanted to do whatever I wanted to do, so I just wanted to be like my dad. So I didn't think of anything else. I just wanted to just go to the same school as him, follow in the same footsteps. When there were company tours that my school would promote, I'd purposely pick out my dad's place of work just so I could go there, and we'd all go to the drafting room, and like my classmates would be there with me, and I'd say like, oh, hey, daddy. And everyone would wonder like, how does she know? Like, how did this happen? But to answer the question though, to make this seem like how I'd present this to someone else, to try to get someone to do what they want to do, I try to think of it as like, not necessarily male dominated, I just think of like, what's the core interest that you have? For me, I love playing with Legos. I loved building things. I built stuff with wood when I was growing up. I helped my dad with lots of projects. So I thought of it purely like that. I didn't think of it as like, there's not very many women. I don't know if I should do this. Like, I didn't think of it like that. And I do understand and obviously respect the idea that women and maybe women of color want to see representation, to know that someone is going there. I totally understand that. But at the same time, sometimes there's stuff that just hasn't been done yet. So I don't want to make it seem like unless someone else went, I go too. Just do what you want. Like if you have interest in it, just do it. I've had a great 10 years, really. I've built a lot of great relationships over the years, and a lot of great coworkers, bosses, that sort of thing. And really, to be honest, I don't notice as much the difference of the female and male stuff. I just did whatever I wanted, and I just happened to be in a field that's male dominated. So I guess my advice is like, really, in that sense, focus on what you want to do. The rest will just fall into place. That would be my advice.
Yeah. Wow. You need to be sharing that more. That's great advice. I think that's important. I know that it's only been within the last couple of years, because I've been trying, that high school guidance counselors are now allowing us to come in and talk about construction. Before it was always college. And believe me, I have nothing bad to say about college. I have a college degree myself, but it's not for everybody. There are other things that you can do in your life and have a viable career and make good money. So I think that by showing the younger generation the wide spectrum of opportunities for them, and telling them they can do what they want, then I think it will help as well. Lil, what have you had any interaction, or do you share with the younger generation, encouraging them to get into the industry?
Yeah, and I kind of see a little bit different than Jisell, just because I have a different upbringing, just culturally. I migrated to the States when I was 2 years old, and it's coming to the States is a huge privilege for my family to be here, and it's something we don't take for granted, especially myself. But to give you a little bit more background, my mother's biggest dream for me is to be a secretary. That was the highest she could dream. And today I'm not that. And it's funny because I think in my younger age, I kept thinking, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is what my mom wants me to do. This is, natural course. I'm going to be a secretary at some fancy business. But, it was just through programs like NEFLIC that would come to school, or just, I volunteer. This could be another topic to dig into, but I was an explorer for, the sheriff's department here in Los Angeles for 4 years. Had no intention to go into law enforcement, but what that really taught me is community and serving others, and also getting exposure to a lot of, a lot of grown-ups who had a career, and it gave me a chance to really think beyond being a secretary for me. Mm-hmm. So now as an adult, I ended up majoring in interior design. My grandfather came from construction. He's a carpenter by trade. So I didn't really go too far. But I find that in order for me to inspire the next generation, I have to be my authentic self. I truly love this industry. And I think for those of you who know me closely, Sasha and Nathan's on here, you know that I love this industry. I love connecting people. I love connecting the dots. And me being part of construction technology is not an accident. But what I love most is when I see my grandfather, I love to kind of just share and hear his stories and kind of just share with him. He may not understand, and he may not get it, but it's just for me, it's just seeing the different gaps of when he was in construction and what I'm helping to do today, and the things that I'm diving into. So I think that in itself, reflects on the younger generation. So when I do give back, when I do have those opportunities through NAWIC, I remember a couple of years ago, I did the OC chapter. There was a DUI, NAWIC camp week. And I went in there just talking about, let's review a drawing in paper. And then I'm going to have all of you guys capture the markups. And then let's do this on the computer. And let's talk about the differences. And then just talking about hey, there's room for you here, but just don't think of it as just, gathering markups. Think about it as a person who's actually coding, this software. Think about that too. Don't think about, hammers and nails. That's a great opportunity, but there's so much to really dig into. So, and that's why I just share my story. I have to share my story. It's who I am. It's different than everyone else's. And that's the thing. I'm so proud of that. So that's going to naturally just hopefully resonate with the younger generation.
Wow, that was amazing. Well, you hit it right. You hit it exactly. You have to be authentic. That's one of the things that as national president, I make time for anybody that needs my time. And some people have said it's just so awesome to have access to the national president. And I'm like, no, I'm just me. I'm Ann. This is me. My title doesn't, say who I am. And I wanted to be in this role to help anybody do and be whatever they want. So being authentic is, you have to do that. And believe me, especially the younger generation, they can pick up very quickly if you are not being authentic. I wholeheartedly know about that. And you also made another good point. It's just, I think with a lot of the, things between, it's a male I like to call it construction, by the way, guys, male populated, because it really is not male dominated anymore, because you are seeing more women, impacting and sitting at the table. So if you guys take anything out from today, you switch the terminology. It's a male populated industry, not the male dominated. But it's just as simple as sitting down and having a conversation like we are right now. There shouldn't be anything else thought about. It doesn't matter that it's men and women, or we are all passionate about our work that we do, and we can all see it. We just sit down and have a conversation, and we can learn from one another. And I know Sasha, in our Travis mentioned our emails earlier this week, Sasha had mentioned that, when we start talking, you don't know what can come out of it. You have a thought of one idea when going into the conversation, but then by the time you guys we're all done talking, we could have, a much better idea. So there are a lot of opportunities for us to just have the conversation. And that's really what people need to remember. It's not male, female. It's you are coworkers working in the same industry. And if you can learn from one another, just sit down and have a drink, have a cup of coffee. That's all you need to do. You don't have to worry about, how you approach somebody, or, just have that conversation. So Sasha, since you kind of brought that up, did you have anything that you maybe, I know you want to expand on that one.
I have thoughts. I have lots of thoughts around it. I think, So prior to this role that I'm in now at Procore, when Lily and I were working together, she was very much involved with women in construction. And based on the path that I took into the industry, I never really engaged in NAWIC or any of the WIC activities. And I remember Lillian being like, oh my God, why aren't you involved? Because from my mindset, I'd had so many male allies who pulled me into those conversations, who made space for me at the table. In my mind, it was a little bit like Jisell. I was just focused on showing up and doing the work as effectively as possible. I do remember going to trade shows and having technical conversations with this industry, which is technical. That's why I said you can never sell to this industry, because they're engineers. First of all, you can never sell an engineer. So most of the people we're talking to and having conversations with were like super technical. I couldn't wait for the day I could wear glasses. This is a dead honest story. I don't think I've ever told it. I really couldn't wait for the day I could wear glasses, because I felt like it would give me a factor of intelligence that would create an immediate visual representation. So I started wearing glasses before I needed glasses, just to have better conversations on the trade show floor. I've never told anyone this. And it impacted the conversations. Now, I may have a conscious bias on my side that I feel like it did, and it didn't really do diddly squat to the men I was talking to. But if it helped me feel less self-conscious and be able to dive into those technical conversations and feel confident, then that's what worked for me. So I do think we have to recognize there's differences in our genders. There's differences in the way we approach. But if we can, I think it comes back to that idea of anyone who's in a position of leadership who can help celebrate the women that are in industry. The conversations really have to start around cognitive diversity, being appreciative of the cognitive diversity, and not to check boxes, not to fill out a quota, but to recognize if we're looking at solving these problems, I really want divergent opinions and perspectives so that we can come to the best place here. So in the last year, with my role at Procore, leading the Procore.org team, and now with the CPC, I'm leading the inclusion and diversity roundtables, which was something I never expected to do. I've actually gained empathy for why the conversation around women in construction exists. And I've been able to tap into some of the things that I experienced coming into industry, which I blew right past them. Cognitively didn't even really log them. I just was like, well, this is a barrier and I'm going to solve this problem. And this is a problem, I'm going to solve it. But when I talk to younger women who are now coming in the industry, they're very clear about, how do I overcome gender bias? How do I address this in the moment? And a lot of times, honestly, I have to stop and be like, oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I know the answer, because I just put my head down and did the work. But so I think there's a nuance to the conversation, and I want to create space. I've allowed myself the journey of not being involved to now being like, this is my second WIC conversation today, and I'm fired up about it because I see that there is a need for us to speak around cognitive diversity and make leaders who are in those positions, whether they're a man or a woman, to be able to say, hey, if we're going to be making decisions around this, we want to make sure we have really diverse perspectives aligned to solve the problem. So to me, it's a bit nuanced there, but I've been on a journey here just getting to this place. So I think as much as each of us can be cognizant, from where I'm sitting, I keep looking back. Who can I bring in? Now that I'm at this space, who can I bring in? I've reached this level in my career where I've conquered the mountains I wanted to conquer. I've done more in as far as being successful than I ever thought I could, because of the allies who pushed me into the places I didn't think I belonged. So now my way to pay it forward is my high, if you will, is when I can help bring other people along and help other people see their power, their strength, and be able to succeed at their careers. And so to me, that's kind of how I can give back and how I can continue to engage.
Great. That's great.
Can I piggyback on that for just a second?
Sure.
Because you talked about mentors, and I came up with the first one that hit my head. And then I was like, started to list them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, all of my current mentors are women. And I think it ties into what Sasha says. So like Amanda Communell over at Stratus is a mentor, like intentionally though. So, and I'd say this about like male mentors that I've had, male mentors are unintentional usually. We're not terribly intentional about our mentoring. Amanda's an intentional mentor. I got Alice over at Brick and Mortar, who's intentionally mentoring. I've got Jody at HPS, who's intentionally mentoring. And they made it really easy to be mentored. Like basically all I had to say is, I'm not quite sure about this. And I got a great lead in. So, you know, do you think, and Sasha, this kind of goes back to what you said, but you can ask anybody, do you think that as women enter into sort of leadership within construction, they're bringing with them this heavy intentional mentoring, but not just to women, to everybody? Because again, I was like looking up the list. I'm like Stacy Zer and Alice and Amanda and Jody and even Tanis. And I'm like, okay, so if I were to break it down, I'm like probably more mentored by women than by men at this point. So what are your thoughts? Do you think you guys are bringing that? It was that part of what women bring to construction?
I'd like to go ahead and let Kalyn speak, because she put a pretty good comment there in the chat.
I mean, for me, as a woman, one of the qualities I think women have in abundance of outside of, you know, men is empathy and the ability to be an empath. And I think that helps when a woman is trying to mentor someone to the next level of their abilities, because sometimes what that can help you do is see the capabilities that that person has that they might be jaded to, and that they might not see in themselves because they're shy, or they're scared to use their voice, or they're intimidated in this world we live in right now. So by having women who are mentors and who can provide that, yeah, I understand you're scared and you don't like doing this. However, you understand this better than anyone else on the team. So let's talk about that, and let's bring that to the surface and get you to the next level. That's something that as myself as a manager, I've always been kind of one of my things, to make sure that I'm listening and seeing where people are thriving and where they're scared. And like, I don't know if it's just because inherent of motherhood, or of just, you know, of how women have been genetically raised over the past however billion years. You know, it's those kind of factors for me that I think are helpful in making a mentor out of somebody who's gone through that experience, because you need to have empathy and respect for perspective. I know Nate Wood's on this call because he says that all the time, but you know,
there's $1.
Cha-ching, put it on my tab. But there's in some cases, men don't see that right away. They just see the problem and want to solve it. Women actually see the person experiencing the problem and want to help them learn how to solve it, if that makes sense.
I'm definitely a product of a woman who was empathetic and saw in me my capabilities and was able to help me, and that's Sasha. You know, I, you know, when she says, you know, she's looking behind her to see who she can pull forward, she saw me. And the network I have, the relationships I have, the confidence I have is because she poured onto me what I didn't see in myself. So absolutely. And that's something where I have young women who do that to me. Like, I want to pay it forward because she did to me. And tenfold, I want to help other people, and not just young women, but anyone, you know, men included. I've been in conversations with men who have also been, you know, sharing their experiences. And I bring back about all the conversations I've had with Sasha. I'm like, this is my chance to pay it back, you know? So yeah, absolutely. You hit it right on the nose, Kalyn.
Andrea, it looks like you've been wanting to say something.
So one of my roles is as an instructor, and I'm often at the crossroads of technical material and implementation out in the field. And oftentimes I will be the only woman in the class, right? I have all male students. And there are those who don't have the confidence, or they don't quite know what they're doing. And you can see that look, that deer in headlights look, like, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. And if a woman has that look out in the field, it's very easy to single her out. She doesn't know what she's doing. There's that sense of fear in her eyes. If it happens to 1 out of 20 guys in one of my classes, it's very easy to just say, oh, well, that particular guy he doesn't know the subject matter, and it gets lost. It's just noise. And oftentimes I talk about habit building with these people who are going to be going out into the field and implementing this technical knowledge. I need them to be confident in what they're doing. I need them to answer a question with an answer, not with a question. And so I talk a lot about habit building and being confident in your answer and how you present yourself. And so I end up doing a lot of mentoring with men who are going through these classes. And again, it's so easy to single out a woman if it's not going well, but it just doesn't hit anybody's radar if a guy is floundering, just because there are so many others. So it's lost noise. And it can be a challenge. And I think that I've gotten a really good reception from men who say, oh yeah, okay, I like that you showed me that technique, or you showed me how to get around this, or you showed me how I need to be confident in that. So again, it's more about, at the end of the day, let's just have this be normalized. I don't want to be a woman in construction. I want to be a subject matter expert in construction. And I think that I am. And I want the next person standing next to me to also be a subject matter expert in their portion of the project, and just have it be a normalized conversation rather than, have to put name tags.
Yeah, I saw earlier in the chats we're going pretty fast, but one of them was about, we should be talking about women in construction all year round, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. But we should just be talking, like Andrea said, just about construction. It doesn't have to be women, it doesn't have to be men, just about construction. NAWIC has an annual conference every year, and our next one is in August, hopefully in person. We're planning in person with a virtual component, but it was important for me to include men. So one of our keynotes is a male, and I'm really trying to do a mix of both women and men for our breakout sessions and things of that sort, because NAWIC has always been known for, a safe spot for women. And I think that that's still important, but we're seeing the men want to help. And so let's start, letting them do that, letting them help, so that they can show other men in the industry that what assets women are and how we can help, with a project or with whatever problem. But again, until we start having that real conversation, I know we're coming down to the end of our time, guys. I know we could probably talk for hours on this, couldn't we? This has been great conversation. I know, Jisell, do you have any maybe last thoughts on our conversations that we have, and then we'll just have everybody say a quick.
Sure. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up was I'm seeing that there are events at high schools lately. I've actually partaken in some of them the last couple of years. There's one in particular called Grit to Great. And it's at Apple Valley Senior High School in Apple Valley, Minnesota. I'm sure there's plenty more, or I hope. And what I find so great about that is it really does try to encourage the young women to get into these fields too. And I'm hoping that if all of us see these opportunities that we're taking part here, I mean, I found it to be fantastic, because it's such an impressionable age at that point, because they're like in high school. And I think there were some junior high students there too. And I picture myself back when, I was that age, because when I was that age, to be honest, I didn't see myself doing quite a bit. And I had a male mentor, my 9th grade social studies teacher, who really saw a lot in me that I didn't see in myself. So the fact that I'm even here right now speaking to all of you is something that would not have happened if I would not have gone back, 17 years it's been now, and actually believed that I could actually do something like this. So the fact that I speak at conferences and stuff like that, there have been male mentors along the way that have said, like, of course, like, you should do this. Of course, they'll take you seriously. Of course, you should do it. And so it all starts back when you're in that impressionable age in high school. And so I really want to encourage anyone here, panelists, attendees, attend something like that at the schools. There's plenty of them, I hope, that are involved. The one that I mentioned, they get sponsored by companies in the area. The one I'm referring to is actually sponsored by Uvenor North America. So they sponsor the events. I didn't see one this year quite yet, but normally it's around this time of year. I encourage anyone to do something like that, to really touch base with women and well, men too, of course, at the impressionable age. Like, you can do this. There are people along the way, and let's all go forward together. That's my final thoughts
I'm
there.
so glad you mentioned that, because one of our newest partnerships with NAWIC is with an organization called NEPRIS, NEPRIS, that partners up, and you can be working in any career, partners you up with a high school. If a teacher is looking to have somebody come and talk to about architecture, or an iron worker. And we didn't really touch a whole lot on technology and what the pandemic has done for us to have this virtual. We have so much more reach now with the virtual component. So I actually was paired up with a high school in Kansas City, Missouri, and I did it over my lunch hour in Ohio. So we have so much more ability to be able to reach out to the students virtually and talk to them. So I'm so glad you brought that up. So Kalyn, you want to say a couple things? And
yeah, I think just the last couple of comments that have been speaking about not only women in construction, but men in construction, and the impact that everybody can have. It's an allyship. Like, we won't get any further as a collective if we don't respect everybody and bring everybody along at the same pace. So like my CEO actually said something pretty interesting. She said, construction is collaborative. It's only inevitable that it's going to become more inclusive. So you're going to have to breed collaboration through bringing more people in for more additional ideas, for more additional inputs and opinions and things like that. So for me, that's going to be, something that I'm going to want to watch and promote here going forward myself.
Great. Andrea.
There we go. Sorry. So I was just answering a question from someone who is listening. Again, I feel so strongly that we need to normalize these conversations and just be talking about the things that we do that we love, and working in construction, and not compartmentalizing and labeling as much. I've used in particular this preparation time for WIC Week, for our chapter, to really open a lot of conversations. And I've had people who have even said, wow, I guess I never really thought of you as a woman in construction. You're just the person I go to who has the answers. And I hope that continues. And I think that it's such a great conversation starter. I'm going to be doing some work this year with different kids groups. And the thing that I hold dearest to me was my first year. So last year we were not able to do Camp NAWIC, which somebody else had mentioned earlier in the conversation. It got canceled last year because of everything. But the previous year, just seeing all of those girls at a very impressionable age, 7th and 8th graders, take a hold of the different projects in construction, and they don't want to do it at first because my friends are watching, and I don't want to weld. I don't want to do this carpentry. I don't want to finish concrete. And once they picked up those tools and started doing them, you could see their whole persona change, as if to say, I can do this. This is incredible. I love doing this work. So those are the types of things that keep me going, to be that inspiration, and to just show somebody that, yes, it's okay. You should try this. And I think that's what motivates me.
Great. Thanks. Lil.
I too was trying to respond to that person, because that person has to really.
Nope. You're muted.
Darn technology. I was saying I too was trying to respond to that person. It was a really, really great question. I think it just goes back to just, be your authentic self and own your story. My story is different from everyone else's story in here. And I think that took me a long time to accept that because my story is not perfect. I didn't go to, top university. I didn't have the ideal family growing up. I didn't have, what everyone had. But I think now that I'm older, I'm wiser, definitely wiser. I've come to appreciate my story because it's who I am, and it has definitely carved, who I am and where I'm going. And I think the other thing for me, which has been so helpful and something I would love to share with everyone is, build your own executive team, right? Like I heard this many years ago, I'm going to butcher it, but build a core of team people whose opinions matter, because everyone's going to share their opinion. And sometimes, the further they are in your circle, the less their opinion should matter. And I'm definitely guilty that I care about what people say about me. I do, I'll be honest. But I've come to learn the hard way through many tears and tissue boxes that I need to have a core group of people, men and women, whose opinion I value, whose opinion matters to me, and that they make an impact on myself. So try to find that executive team, that board member who's going to help you grow as an individual and challenge you and be honest with you, because you don't want friends to tell you things that you want to hear. And sometimes when friends tell you things that are hard, it's better to hear it from a friend, right, than your enemy at that point. So that would be the second thing I think. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Lo. Sasha.
I think just a final thought here is this should be a yes and conversation. I loved Jacinda's question about femininity, and that gets asked a lot. It's kind of like when I was like, well, I need to look smarter, so I'm going to use glasses. I am smart, but I wanted to get that visual cue. And to me, it's like, this is a yes and conversation. For men and for women, it's yes and. Bring your full authentic self to the table, to the work. If you're involved and you influence marketing within your firms, to DJ's question about how do we celebrate outside of WIC Week, make sure when you're submitting for speaking sessions at conferences, you have women who are talking about the business problems they're solving. So women have the space to talk about things other than their gender. Make sure they're in the forefront talking about how they're doing the critical business solving. If it weren't for Kalyn invited me to keynote at her user conference last year. And I don't know, even for women who are in those roles, if they think about, do you want a female keynote or do you want a male keynote? And trust me, I was like, me, really? Keynote? But she's like, duh. So even I think it's a yes and for everyone. Yes and yes. Look at how you can bring people along the journey and see how you can expand the table so that there's more people and you're just being intentional in representing what this industry looks like, because this career changed my life and I'm a high school dropout. I would not be here if it weren't for this industry. So I think if I can make it, anyone can make it.
That's a great piece of information. I think that, thanks for sharing that with us. Well, guys, I think we took up the time. Hope we did your podcast justice. Thank you again so much for reaching out to us. We loved it. Maybe we can come back for part 3 if that's doable at some point. So I'll turn it back over to Travis.
Yeah, there's too many great thoughts to sum up here. I think that you've all made some excellent points that, we need to celebrate women in construction, obviously, but we also need to understand that they're not just women in construction, right? They're fantastic people that do fantastic work. And as this industry is going to move forward, we need to really celebrate, to Trent's point, the meritocracy. Like, let's just point out people that are doing excellent things. And let's fix the PR problem. This is something I say a lot. We have a PR problem in construction. Let's just celebrate people that are doing awesome things. And yes, I'm absolutely thrilled that a great deal of them are women. So, Jonathan, Trent, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Could I ask one question? Because there are a lot of people here that are trying to inspire young girls. And I have 2 young girls. So Chloe asked me, Chloe's my older one. She says, so what's their elevator pitch for young girls to come into construction? And if people out there don't know what an elevator pitch is, it's how can you pitch your idea before the elevator gets off and the person has to leave? So does anybody have a kick butt elevator pitch for women in construction? And I hate to throw that because that's like heavy and I should have given you time to think. But if one of you has it, I'd love to hear it because
Give us a tweet. Give us
a tweet. Yes, you can tweet after it if you like, or like, oh, I should have said this. But if you have one, I'd love to hear an elevator pitch for women in construction.
Well, I'm actually not a huge elevator speech person, but what I like, I'll relate it to being a member of NAWIC. What I like to tell people is, what are you looking for? And I can find it in NAWIC to provide you that. So if you're talking to the younger generation, what excites you? What do you enjoy? Let's find that career for you.
That's good.
I could come up with one, John, real quick. What
Okay, I need to hear Trent's just real quick.
What if you're like, to be a god amongst men? What do you think about that? Like, yeah. No, I mean, hey.
Being goddess.
Goddess. Yes.
There you go. Gosh, dang it, I failed. No, because we all know construction has a PR problem. We've said it. And it's not just a gender PR problem. I mean, it has an education PR problem. It has all kinds of issues. So yeah. So that would be my elevator pitch. God or goddess among men. Let's do it.
Right on.
Let's come in. You know, you've got the same old people that are in here. You have a chance to come in here and shake it up. Let's go. Right.
Right on.
Perfect. I will try to do my best, Jeff, sample and put a bow on this. I think that one of the keys I took away from this is, I believe, Sasha, that you said this. Look around the table. Who's not here, right? If you have a problem, or not even a problem, I already butchered this. I already screwed this up. If you are uncomfortable saying a woman or a woman of color or a person of color should be at this table, think about what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah. Accomplishing the task means that you need a diversity of thought. The only way you get a diversity of thought is by having a diversity of people. Did I do it wrong? Did I do it right? We good?
Good.
All right.
Dude, the military's been doing that for years, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we're used to that. There's no other way you can accomplish it. No other way.
Perfect.
You will never accomplish that with the same people. No way.
Excellent. So thank you all very much. This has been a great conversation. And I really hope that we do this again. We'll get another Dork-ettes podcast together to do number 3. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up episode 20, Dork-ettes Part Deux. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're the man today.
Because I'm going to have to bolt. I got sorry guys, but with COVID, they're changing things. And now my kid's game is now changed to 4:15 and it's right behind my house. So I can run there, but and I have to take my daughter and I might get kicked out because we're not supposed to be bringing their siblings, but I don't have anywhere else for her to go. So single dad's got to do what you got to do.
Welcome
So
to, I was going to say, welcome to parent problems. Yep.
Yeah.
This is parenthood.
Yeah.
Problem area.
Saturday.
What a day.
I'm getting mine.
Yeah,
I have to get scheduled.
I have to tell you, I still haven't gotten superpowers from mine. I don't have anything special. No tail either.
Or a third eye.
Good. Yeah.
We can probably just pass around the intro. And after the intro, we're all leaving and it's your show for the day.
Well,
Unless
I mean,
you want us.
Hold on. Ann, go ahead.
This is about men. You guys are supposed to be in.
You're supposed to stay.
We want you
can-
That was the whole conversation in the email. You're supposed to stay.
Oh, I didn't catch that. And we all
the
had
gallery view
questions
gets a little
too.
weird if we have like 12, gallery cameras open.
Oh, there we go.
Leaving is going to knock it all off because we've got the number of people. We've got,
Yeah. Damn it,
This
Jeff.
is working
Damn
with
it,
your
Jeff.
OCD. Just 3 lines of 3. It
Yeah.
works. As soon as I get my vaccine, they have like 900 places I'm supposed to travel to go see people. I'm
900?
waiting. It feels that way.
That's 3 a day, dude.
That's
Come
fine.
on.
I've been stuck in the house for a long time.
I'm ready to be free again.
Yeah.
Are we staying on through the show? Because I don't mind. I actually like that. I just wanted
it's
to make
the ladies show. If you want
Okay.
us to hang out,
We'd
we'll
love
hang
to
out.
have you.
Yeah,
then
that'd be
we're so
great.
totally hanging out.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
We have to
Yeah.
we joke now this
Your
is the
loss.
this is the second time we've done this, right? And every time the ladies plan everything out. They get a call together, they have a script together. We
Yeah.
plan out nothing. We have
Literally
never
nothing.
once had a
Yeah.
pre-show meeting.
Nope.
We're also
Not gonna either.
terrible
I'm speechless.
marketers.
I was like, how do you get this many women who've made it this far in their career? You know, some planning happened.
Yeah.
I'll compete for sure.
Hey, there's basketball boy making
All
it
right.
in.
Right on.
Future podcaster.
Chris.
Chris just
Say
needs
hi.
to do that every once in a while. Just
Yeah.
like,
Just random.
Just rando head in.
yeah, it'll work.
Oh,
He's on
That
dad
works.
duty. He's feeding the kids right now. So
good deal.
Nice.
So we did know.
There we go. Look. Yeah.
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 go ahead, say hi.
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 You're
she
ruining
muted it.
everything.
Dang it. I wanted that. All right. We did know
I
logos.
don't know these people.
Mine's a Zip Fizz because they really frown on whiskey breath when you go into the local high school or the
That's
Middle
still,
school
that's still
game.
one of the main benefits of wearing a mask.
Why?
It's true.
Yeah.
Dang, I didn't think of that, Travis.
Yeah.
You
You gotta
really
use
are a
that.
pro.
You got to use that to your advantage,
Right.
man. Come on.
Yep.